This COP has been, I would say, more explicit, not that there hasn't been things happening in the past COPs, but more explicit in having specific corporate sponsors. So Scottish Power is one, NatWest Group is another, I think Scottish and Southern Energy is another, and then remind me of another one. I went to a seminar in which all of the sponsors spoke about their sponsorship and why they're sponsored. So you can look at this two ways, as always. You can say, why should these corporates be sponsoring COP, which should be a kind of democratic, in a sense, political discussion? However, businesses are incredibly influential in the world. So if we can get businesses as a force for good, as a force for change, then actually having them involved is actually a fantastic thing. And that is for a couple of reasons. Because government policy needs the support of business and consumers to work, to happen, but also because business can act without government policy. So it would be great if out of Glasgow, out of COP26, we got a really strong commitment from all nations, and the nations all went back to their governments and they all got these policies that made this happen. But it's possible that that won't happen for a lot of political reasons. You're environmental politics students, you know all about that, okay? Business could circumvent that process. Business could say, there's no policy requiring that I do X, Y, Z, but I'm going to do it anyway for good planet reasons and good business reasons. Now, do we trust them to do that? That is a very big question. I would say, and I wouldn't say, yes, we do, ever, I wouldn't say that. However, I do think that there is, the winds are changing, as I say, and we're seeing the push of purpose-led business and a purpose-led economy, a purpose-first economy. And a lot of different organizations are signing up to quite rapid changes, turning away from what we call as the shareholder primacy model, as in shareholders are most important, saying there are other things that are important. And actually they're important because if we don't do them, shareholders will suffer anyway. So it doesn't have to be an either or. Now, I don't want to sound too naive about this. I don't want to sound too idealistic about this. Some businesses are terrible. Some businesses they're just openly terrible. They don't even care. Some businesses may be greenwashing. So they're pretending to care, but actually the actions aren't happening. But I think in this age of transparency, there is less and less of that than there might have been a few decades ago. And the last thing I wanted to say on this is that the government actually set quite stringent targets, or I would say requirements for these businesses to be sponsors of COP26. So these businesses had to sign up to things like science-based targets and other targets. And they were quite stringent. They were quite, for a for-profit business who's trying to move towards this at the pace that business like to move sometimes, that was quite a big leap for some of them. So I've done some work with NatWest Group, and I know that their leap to science-based targets in order to get the COP26 sponsorship slot of a bank was quite a big one for them. So, and they did it because they really are trying to push to being a purpose-first business or a purpose-led business. So I don't want to be naive and idealistic, but actually the best way to get change as quickly as we can is to get businesses involved and get them to help push. Because as consumers, we need options and choices. We have to buy electricity somewhere. What electricity are we going to buy unless we go fully off grid, which just isn't feasible?